All right, so this week's discussion, which so far no discussions have been had, but yeah, I'm throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Anyway, you're going to hear me talk, all three of you. Um, all right, so as I've gone through collecting, I've found you need boundaries. You need to figure out where exactly your boundaries are. What are your rules? Some people don't have rules. Some people collect you know, everything. And I can't understand that because, I'm not talking about keeping a small collection, but I'm a manageable collection. What's manageable for you? Because I see people all the time, they got bins and bins in storage, and I'm like going, why? Why do you do that to yourself? You're spending money to keep things that you don't enjoy anymore, apparently, because it's all in storage. And you're like, well, I enjoy it. I'm like, when do you look at it? When do you do anything with it? I was like, well, yeah, that's true. So, I always wonder. I mean, I'm not trying to put anybody down, but I always wonder about people who rent out storage spaces and stuff toys in them. And I'm like, why, dude? Why? I always get to points where, you know, I have, well, I mean, I guess that's what I'm getting at is, I always set up myself some collecting rules. And, I find most people do. I mean, there are limits. You know, crowdfunding is one limit that some people have, and they won't do crowdfunding no matter what. That's cool. I mean, I would never say never to that, but, you know, definitely not to the Ghost Rider HasLab. But we won't get into that right now. And so I was thinking about that, and I thought that would be an interesting discussion. What is your collecting rules? What are my collecting rules? I'll just go over mine. If you want to talk about some of yours in the comments, feel free. Go ahead. That's what this is all about. This is about generating some discussion and community here. So, okay, so again, in no particular order, this is my rules of collecting. Now, one is I only get one iconic look of a character. Now, when I say iconic look, now, yeah, you have to hear that part. The one iconic look. So I thought a good example is Hulk Hogan. Okay, my plan is I'm going to get one '80s one that looks pretty much his midway run around WrestleMania 6 or WrestleMania 5. Basic Hulk Hogan, yellow and red. And I mean, come on, they're going to be doing this again and again. Now, of course, there's NWO Hogan. That's another one. That to me, that's another iconic look that I need to have. Now I have that one, and it's great. I love it. It seems like the perfect Hulk Hogan NWO to me. So we'll move on. And his return to WWE, which I bought earlier this year in the Elite line, I think that is perfect. I mean, if they put out an ultimate of that, I'd be tempted, but I doubt I'd buy it. I'd look at it though. I would seriously look at it, but I doubt I'd buy it. So the only other one I can think of, because I never thought they'd make it, is Mr. America, just because I thought that was so funny. I mean, hilariously funny when he walks out to Piper and goes, you're Hulk Hogan. He goes, brother, I don't know what you mean, but to me was one of the most hilarious storylines ever. Another good one is Daredevil. To me, there's only three looks I need: armored, got it; original, got it; red, getting it. So, you know, that's it. I mean, I only need one Snake Eyes with visor. This is the character that brought this to my attention. Okay, so but step backwards to about in the 2010s, early 2010s. You suddenly, in early 2000s, mid 2000s, you suddenly realize that we went from used to be in the Yojo archive. I think there was 5 Snake Eyes figures, and then all of a sudden, within a few years, we're up to 50. And I got no idea where it's at now. I don't care, but they're throwing them in multi-packs. They're throwing them everywhere. And then they're making the cooler ones later, and it's like, I don't need the same freaking character that many times. I don't care. That's pointless. So, that's the character that taught me it. And then, like, this classified line, they've used him a lot again, not to the degree that they did in the 3 3/4 inch line yet. I got a feeling they're going to try. So that's why I kind of stuck to my guns, and I said, okay, I'm going to get one. And I did get one. I got the first one. And I'm just going to give them some better weapons sometime along the way. I looked at the others. I like the Commando one. That's pretty cool. But I'm not willing to pay $40 for the dog. And that one doesn't have swords. So, I also wanted swords with them. So, that's kind of where I'm at right now with that. I only bought one Storm Shadow. Waited for that close to classic, but not quite classic look. And, they did the classic look, and I'm just looking at it like, going, okay, well, that's kind of cool, but I didn't want a clone of my original Storm Shadow. So I'll just take this one. And that's where I'm going with. Roadblock. Gosh, I went through a whole lot of crap for that one. Finally got him on the Amazon exclusive. Perfect. I mean, that's the Roadblock I want, so that's what I'm sticking with. Spider-Man has a little bit more variety here. There's original, symbiote, armored, Ben Reilly, first appearance. That's pretty good. So Spider-Man 2099 to me is a different character, but some would argue that's a version of Spider-Man. So I'll bend on this discussion and say that too. So not that many Spider-Men. I don't need that many. That's simple. I mean, I just try to keep it simple. And the only reason I do first appearance is because, well, really, first appearance is the first appearance of the Marvel Universe. So, to me, that's a bit of an iconic thing. I go second rule I have is I go very light on movie characters. A good example is, Mattel has a line, wrestling goes to Hollywood. I only bought one figure from it. I only plan to ever buy one figure from it. It's Roddy Piper from They Live, because they literally never made a They Live figure before that. NECA's coming out with another one soon, but, I've been saying soon for years. And it looks pretty good, but I'm going to pass on it. I mean, I just bought that one because, he looks the part, and it works. Now, Captain America. I have one Captain America figure from the MCU. I have a couple of Thors and a couple of Iron Mans. But I tend to look past the movie characters most of the time. Occasionally I'll buy one that is purely for the movie. I mean, that's not often. Now, I only buy multiples of my favorites. And that's a pretty short list. Iron Man, Cap, and Thor. And again, I'm always only looking for those iconic looks. Now, I did keep my original Thor from the Toy Biz Marvel Legends line when I got the 80th anniversary one. Why? Because that's just a cool figure. Cap from the original Toy Biz line. Yeah, I still got him too. Iron Man from the original Toy Biz line. Absolutely. So, and sometimes, I do add in characters in that. Like in my Captain America display, as small as it is, I do have the Hydra Stomper in there. I mean, it's technically Cap. I got Peggy sitting there too. And plan to add Sam Cap and Bucky Cap. Again, Cap's one of my faves. So is Iron Man and Thor. War Machine and Ironheart, yeah. I mean, they can become part of the Iron Man display, although that one's getting very crowded. Very, very crowded. So that's probably not going to happen. Thor, things like Ragnarok, which I keep debating on and keep thinking I won't buy because, it's just a robot Thor. I mean, I do love the hammer, but, I don't think it's worth it. But I debate it constantly. Jane Foster, Beta Ray Bill. Okay. So, I mean, I try to keep it simple, but, those are the ones I will buy multiples of. But I will count these other alternates as part of that as well. So, that gets a little crowded after a bit. Number 4, and this is going to surprise everyone, no army building. Why? First off, I've done that in 3 3/4 inch. Star Wars. God, I've got so many clones and so many stormtroopers at this point. G.I. Joe. I have so many Vipers. I've got so many alley Vipers. I've got so many bats. I'll tell you what. I sold off, when I hit my dark times, I sold off half of my alley Vipers, half of my stormtroopers, half of my bats, and I still have plenty. I have more than a lot of people do. That's how many I had. And I know the space issues that come with that. I know the problems that come with that. I'm not getting into that again. No, not, and this is a larger line. You have an army of bats in this scale. Where the hell are you going to put them? You got an army of Mandalorians in this scale. Where the hell are you going to put them? Yeah, this is something to consider. So, I mean, I have some out of control levels. I did have in my 3 3/4 inch line. I don't now. I got it down to where it was manageable, but oh Lord. Yeah, you can go way too far with army building and not realize it until it's too late. But the good thing is there's always people who want to buy them. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I think army building, sometimes I think it's going to die. But, time will tell. Okay, now on characters that get a lot of remakes, what you got to do is decide what's iconic. Kind of goes back to, don't leave iconic looks. Okay, let's take a step back. Rey Mysterio is probably the most overproduced character ever. So I looked really hard at which Rey Mysterio I wanted to get. And I finally settled on the most recent Legends one. Because he's the more basic Rey. And that's what I wanted. I like Rey Mysterio a lot. I don't love Rey Mysterio. He's not my favorite. He's pretty cool. I enjoy watching him. I will not pass up a chance to watch him. But I also don't go crazy over him. I'm not going to buy 100 of his figures. And I mean, there's literally hundreds of his figures. And that's cool. If you want Rey Mysterio, if you're a big fan of Rey Mysterio, great. Go ahead. I am a fan of Rey Mysterio, but I am not a super fan of Rey Mysterio. I got a Rey Mysterio for my display. That's what I wanted. That's what I got. He's a good looking Rey Mysterio. He's got versatility. He's got that robe. I got a review of him. Should be up by this point, by the time this is released. If not, it'll be up soon. And, I really thought I made a very smart choice with that one. I really do. I thought I held back, saw lots of Reys coming down the pipeline. Finally got this one, and I was like, yeah, this is the one. This is the one I want. This is exactly the one I want. It reminds me of both ECW days, WCW days, and, of course, early WWF days. Those were the times I was so into wrestling. It was rivaled my 80s obsession. And that's when, I saw Rey rise from somewhat obscurity to superstardom. So, yep, that's a great example of that. Another one's the Alkalites. Now, I'll say this much. I do want to Ron Simmons as more sort of like in his NWA years when he was the champ. But, I kind of laughed when I saw the reveal of, and I forget the character, Spartan, or, no, it wasn't Spartan, that was the one that Bill Hurd wanted Ric Flair to do. The Gladiator or whatever it was. That stupid gimmick. And Ron just ran with it. Because Ron Simmons is Ron Simmons. And, that was before the Acolytes. Now, I saw that figure. I kind of had a chuckle. I've thought about buying that one for the novelty. I may. I'm not going to say I won't. I may. But I do want one of Ron Simmons, before he went to that route. So, again, that's me. Bradshaw, literally, the Acolytes is the only figure I'm ever going to own. That guy, I hate that guy. I hate that guy so much. I thought the best thing that was ever said to him was when Paul Heyman said the only reason you're the champion over on SmackDown is because Triple H refused to work Tuesdays. Okay, so my next rule is don't buy something, buy it. Just buy it. Be strategic. I see people fall into this all the time. They will start buying every dang thing in the world. Funko Pops, NECA, everything. If it says toy on it, they'll buy it. And what they end up with is a bunch of stuff, and that's it. So, and then they end up selling it off after they've been collecting for 10 years. Happens all the time. I've seen it a million times. I've been collecting since, you can say, since 1977. That's when I first really started thinking about, acquiring these things and keeping them in some kind of order. So I'll call it then. I mean, it could even go so far back as Adventure People. I remember collecting those. So, it's been a long time, dude. I've been at it for a while. So, when people just grab any old thing, that's borderline hoarding for one thing. But you're not enjoying yourself. Now, the frequency that things have been released lately, I'm bordering upon that myself because I'm getting so much in at once. I'm not really taking time to kind of look at it and enjoy it because I got to get on to the next thing. And that gets kind of tough. So, that's the other thing is even being strategic, you kind of get overwhelmed. So, just be strategic about what you do. It's sort of like, with Masters of the Universe. I've been like, God, I want to get into a Masters of the Universe line, but, I don't know which, because there's so many lines out right now. I didn't know what route to go in. I finally settled on Masterverse when they had that 40th anniversary of He-Man. And so far, I'm really glad I did. That She-Ra rocks. He-Man rocks. I've got a Skeletor on the way, and we'll get into that when I get it. But it looks really good. I mean, I really am liking what I'm seeing. But I test a line before I jump into it too. I don't just go grab everything. I say, okay, if I buy a few of these in the line, what will I probably keep anyway? Then I decide, and then I go. And that way, if I look at it and I'm kind of like, well, this is cool, but I'm probably not going to collect anymore. Not a problem. If I'm like going, wow, this is awesome. This is so great. I need more, then we're getting more. So that's kind of how I settle that. All right. Now, one thing to keep in mind is always look for deals. Don't be too quick to jump on them. Now, I'm not saying if you just see a $50 figure for $10, don't jump on that. That's a whole different story. What I see sometimes is like, hey, guess what? It's 5% off. But sometimes you wait a little longer, it's 50% off. That one is another one you got to be strategic with. You're not going to pull that with like a Deadpool most of the time. Well, except the Deadpools that were not really Deadpool-ish, if you get my drift. Yeah, those those didn't work. But like, a normal everyday Deadpool, yeah, that's not going to work. Spider-Man, if you find a Spider-Man figure you really like, that's probably not going to work. Unless it's big time Spider-Man, then maybe. Probably. But, anyway, you just got to be strategic and careful and watch what you're doing. And, don't jump on those little deals when bigger deals could happen. And sometimes those big deals make, it works and it rocks. And, you make good savings off of that. Now, sometimes you don't. Well, sometimes playing, I think I heard somebody call it playing the long game, doesn't work. So, again, and it's just something you get a feel for. You just get a feel for it. And I'd say once you get a feel for it, 9 times out of 10, you'll be all right. No, it'll be that, 10th time where it's like, damn it, and it'll linger. It'll linger a long time. But, just be careful, be strategic. I can't tell you how many times on eBay or other buying platforms or secondhand market, I've seen something and I'm like, oh, that's a good deal. And then a week later see it for even less. And I'm like going, bah. But that can happen too. All right, so that's a basic rundown of, most of my rules for collecting. How do I keep my sanity with this? And so, yeah, what about you? You got any rules for collecting? Let me know in the comments. Like I said, this is to generate discussion. All right, that's going to wrap it up for Infinite Realms. Don't forget to like and subscribe.